Hi everyone, my name's Alex. I'm one of the co-founders here at 3DPets. This is going to be a basic training video to go over getting your dog introduced to the device, wearing it, introducing the leg, first steps, and a little bit of proprioception. Okay, so prior to getting into the training, we want to go over a few things that you want to have ready that will really help you with succeeding with the device. One of those is reward preparation. So dogs respond differently and have different motivations, whether that be treats or toys or even people. And so it's very important to know which one your dog is going to react best with to help with training. For instance, if your dog really reacts well with treats and you have high value rewards that you give during certain occasions, this is one of those that you want to have those ready for. The second part is getting ready to wear the jacket. Some dogs don't always react super well to the jacket. And so wearing a t-shirt or letting them get used to wearing a t-shirt or type of raincoat, if you will, are great ways to get them to just become a little bit more calm around the idea of wearing that jacket. Now, it is flexible and I don't anticipate you having much issue with the leg detached, but some dogs do. And so it's important that you decide if your dog's going to need a little bit of that help in the very beginning. The third and probably one of the most important things to remember before you start training with the device is that your dog needs to learn to turn away from the prosthetic leg. So if your dog, for instance, is missing its left forelimb and that's where the device lands, you want to make sure that they are turning to the right away from the device. Now, this is very difficult to remember. Sometimes this is really on the owners to remember this. So when they're walking and the dogs are following them, they make sure to turn in that direction. But it is one of the most important things because you don't want your dog tripping and falling over that and having a negative connotation with the device. Last but not least is extended standing. Now, why this is important and why this is a great time to learn prior to getting your prosthetic is having the stamina for your pet to be able to stand for a period of time while they're learning to use the device is very important versus a dog who needs to constantly be laying down. Now, you've already gone through the candidacy process, so we've already determined that your dog is a good fit for this and they have some ability to stand, but using lick mats or using raised slow feed bowls is a great way to help them build that stamina of standing for longer periods of time, which will eventually help them go longer with the device on.
The first thing that you want to do when you get your jacket is introduce it to your dog and make sure that they have a positive interaction with it by showing it to them, getting them used to being around it, and giving them that high value reward that you've already determined that they work for. Before you get ready to put your dog's jacket on, make sure you spend some time with them to teach them one of these two methods for putting the jacket on. The first method that you can try is teaching your dog to peek by having them come between your legs, peek, and then being able to lift them from there. The second method you can try is having them come to your side and lifting them from there. Once you and your dog are comfortable with the jacket and with how to put the jacket on, you want to get ready and secure it. So you'll have the dog come through your legs or stand at your side, and then when you're putting on the straps, you want to be sure that you leave the correct amount of space underneath each strap. All of the jackets are custom made to each pet, so you can't make it too snug, but you definitely don't want it to be too loose. You need to make sure of this by putting 2 fingers flat underneath the first strap, 1 finger flat underneath the middle strap to create a pivot point, and then 2 fingers under the last strap.
Many times when we send out the prosthesis for larger dogs, we have the leg disconnected from the jacket itself. We do this because it's a little bit easier for them to get used to wearing the jacket without the leg attached to it versus smaller dogs or different style devices that we send out. That being said, when we do send these out, you'll notice on the adapter that we have our small Sharpie mark. This is the baseline where we want the end of the leg to slide into and line up with. We do that because that gives you the ability to adjust inward to shorten the leg or outward to lengthen the leg. Now, it's very possible that you need to trim some excess material off the leg to shorten it even further, but we'll get into that later in the video. So to start, slide the leg in until you get to that line, and then use the provided Allen key to snug up this bolt right here, tighten that leg, and keep it in place. For your dog to benefit most from these devices, it is critical if you are not coming in to visit us or one of our partner clinics that you send us the proper alignment photos and videos. We will use these to determine if alignment changes to the leg need to be made, if the fit of the jacket is correct, and if any other changes need to be made. Please reference these following photos and videos when you prepare to send us yours. As your dog gets used to wearing their prosthetic, it's important that you keep an eye on their chest to make sure that the jacket is not creating any chafe marks at the sternum line where their leg comes through the jacket or at the neckline. If you see any chafing occurring, please inform us right away so that we can help correct that issue. Okay, so we've got Eve's prosthetic on, and so we want to go over a few really important things as we begin this part of the training. So as we mentioned before, we want to make sure that we're making left-hand turns with Eve, meaning that she is turning left away from the prosthesis. This is something that you really need to remember throughout all of the training. Second is we're going to be checking the alignment. This really goes off of our last conversation that we were having about fitment. We want this prosthesis, the leg, to land just in front of her good leg. It's a very good note for alignment purposes. If you don't have that, you probably need to make an adjustment. As you can see here with Eve, she's got a wedge that is actually helping us align the leg a little bit better, more than what just the adapter can do. So we're going to have Eve take a few steps so that we can analyze how our current gait is with the current setup and alignment.
So before you get up and moving with your pet, it's important that they understand that the prosthesis was always going to be underneath them and that they can trust it and they can learn to bear weight on it. So we're going to take some time and go over some exercises for how a dog can learn that. It's easier to do with the support of another person, but I'll go through both individual and partner-based exercises so that you can replicate them at home. So the first exercise that we're going to go over is teaching your pet to lean forward and place weight on the device. So if you're doing this alone, you want to make sure you have one hand underneath your pet to support them, to keep them from falling or tripping over the leg, a barrier in front of them so they aren't encouraged to take steps, and you're going to take your high value reward, which for Trip is a tennis ball, and you're going to encourage them to lean slightly forward. Good boy. So as you can see, when Trip leans forward, he's compressing his foot, which means that he's bearing weight on it. So the way that you do this exercise with a partner is very similar, except you're going to have one person seated in front of your pet with their high value reward to entice them, and the other person supporting the pet and making sure that the prosthetic leg is positioned appropriately to bear weight so that they don't fall over it. So Alex is going to hold up Trip's ball for him. I'm going to make sure that he can lean. Good. So the second exercise that we're going to talk about are leg ups. You can do this in the front end and the hind end. We're going to start with the hind end. When you're doing this, it's important to remember to pick up the leg that's opposite of their prosthesis. So because Trip has his prosthetic on the front right, we're going to lift up his left hind. When you're picking up the leg, in order to avoid injury or stress or strain to the remaining limbs of the dog, make sure that you're tucking their leg up underneath of them, and you don't have to pick it up very far off the floor, just so that their paw isn't touching the ground. It's easiest to do this without an in-hand reward, so if you have a lick mat or something else that could stand in as something to entice them, then you can use that. Otherwise, just be hands off for now and reward them at the end. Trippy, you want to hop up? So I'm going to use one hand to support him the same way I did for the last exercise and hold on to this strap here so he can't fall over. And then I'm going to take my other hand and just gently lift his left hind leg and encourage him to lean forward onto his prosthetic. You can do this for a couple seconds at a time. You can repeat it for a couple of minutes and then let them have a break. And if you haven't been giving them a reward, you can give it to them now. Good boy. When you're doing this with a partner, it looks very similar, except you have a few extra hands to work with. So Alex here is going to support Trip with one of his straps and hold his reward for him, and I'm going to be focused on his hind end, lifting up his leg and supporting his back end to urge him forward. So we're going to go ahead and give him his reward. Pull up his leg. And I'm going to make sure that he is compressing that foot while we're doing it. Leave him here for a couple seconds and then let him rest. And give him his reward. Good boy. For the front end leg lifts, it's the same process, except you're lifting their opposing front leg, which is their only remaining front leg. So I have Trip standing here in between my legs still. I'm supporting him with this strap. I have his reward pocketed because I simply don't have enough hands. And then I'm going to ask him to shake. And he's going to give me this foot with no weight on it and bear all of his weight on his prosthetic. Again, you can do this for a couple seconds at a time and repeat it as many times as your dog will tolerate, and then you let them have a break and give them their reward. Good boy. When you're doing the front end leg lifts, it again looks very similar. You're gonna have one person standing over your pet to support them, one person in the front with their reward and then asking for the shake, and then the person supporting the pet will make sure that they're standing on their leg do it to tolerance, and then let them rest. Good boy.
Okay, so we're gonna go over a few of the basics when it comes to first steps with your dog outside with their prosthetic on. Now, we've got Eve all set up. We've got her alignment pretty well adjusted. The first few things we're gonna do as we're taking these first steps is I'm gonna walk alongside her on the side of her prosthesis. So because she's missing front right limb, I'm gonna walk on the front right side. The reason we do that is if she needs to bear a little bit of weight on me as she's moving forward, since she's gonna be a little uneasy with the device, she has the ability to do so. Now, Eve has been wearing her device for a period of time now, so she's a little bit more used to this, but this is a really good exercise for the newcomers. Come on, Eve, let's go. Good girl. Good girl. We're looking for those taps, those little taps, not the excessive dragging, even though at first a little bit of dragging is okay. When we hear those little taps, we know that there's a little bit of weight bearing going on, but it's very possible that some adjustment is still needed. What we're after is a baseline. If we can work with a few weeks of a baseline and figure out as they're getting comfortable with the device, what's working and what's not, we can then recommend adjustments from there. Eve's device is pretty well set up for her baseline, if you will, and so we're going to continue working with her now. The next and one of the last things in terms of basic training is distance. We really recommend you don't go the farthest you think that your pet can go on the first set of walks. This is a little bit obvious, but we like to reinforce that. What we really want you to do is take it day by day, go a little bit further each day, and let your pet kind of be the one to determine where they're comfortable being at in terms of distance. If you need to push them a little bit, that's okay, obviously, but we want them to build up that stamina now that they have this prosthesis. Starting on pavement is really great for us to be able to see how the alignment is and how your dog's adjusting in terms of weight bearing, but moving over to grass is a really great thing. It's a little bit easier on their paws, obviously, but it does change how the device can work sometimes. And so you want to find that middle ground based on what works well on the pavement and what's going to work well on the grass. So we're going to take Eve for a little stroll, and we're just going to see how her alignment and her gait is on this terrain. Let's go. The last part of the basic training is the gradual increase in the distance your pet can go. We really want you as the owner to be able to let your dog tell you how much further they can go each day. Take it day by day, take it step by step, let them be the ones to tell you if they can go a little bit further. If you need to push them a little bit as they get used to the prosthesis, that is normal, but you want to see that stamina increase over time, and you want to see the weight bearing increase over time as well. We've got Eve's prosthesis pretty well set up for her baseline, so let's take her for a short walk and we'll see how everything's set up. Good girl, nice and easy. You can see we're getting some nice taps. We see a little drag every once in a while, but that's okay for our baseline. But this is really what we're after. The camera angle that you see currently is exactly what we want to see from you, the owners, to be able to determine what type of adjustments we need to make. Thank you so much for working with us. We can't wait to see the success you and your pet have with one of our devices.